Okay, everyone, let's go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, or good morning, or good evening, depending on your time zone. I'd like to welcome everyone to this webinar sponsored by PeopleLinks on why your company needs a LinkedIn strategy. I'm Michael Idenopoulos, Chief Marketing Officer here at PeopleLinks, and I'm extremely excited about the session that we're about to have. Excited both because of the topic that we'll be talking about and because of some really terrific speakers that we've lined up for the session today. So as far as the topic goes, why your company needs a LinkedIn strategy, I think for many of us as marketers, especially in B2B industries, LinkedIn represents a kind of a fascinating creature. We all look at it and think there is such a close tie-in between people's personas and their activity on LinkedIn and what they do at work that there must be ways to leverage this platform effectively for business, for marketing, for brand awareness, for lead gen, and so on. At the same time, I think LinkedIn is a challenge for many of us because it is so very decentralized. In order to be effective on LinkedIn, you can't just have a Twitter handle. You can't just have, it's not like just having a Facebook page. Yes, you can have a LinkedIn company page, but that really is only scratching the surface of the opportunity given how tightly intertwined people's LinkedIn lives are with their professional lives. So it's a huge opportunity for us as marketers, as content marketers, as social marketers, as brand marketers, but at the same time, it presents a real challenge in terms of how to crack the nut on that opportunity. And that's the challenge that we're going to be talking about today. Our speakers today are two absolutely phenomenal experts in the field. We have Neil Schaefer, who is from Maximize Your Social, and Neil, well, I'll do a fuller introduction of him in just a moment, but he is one of the top thought leaders in the space. And then we have Michelle LaPierre from Marriott Rewards, who is a practitioner and one of the most thoughtful, one of the most innovative practitioners that you're going to find anywhere in industry working in social media marketing. So it's a terrific lineup. I will speak briefly towards the end about PeopleLinks, but we're going to spend most of the time with respect to we're going to spend most of the time on our two main speakers. With respect to questions and discussions, obviously that's a terrific thing. We welcome that. We are using the hashtag B2BSocial in Twitter for those of you who want to tweet questions or comments or quotes that you like. And we'll also be using the chat channel in the WebEx to take questions directly for the panelists. So having said that, let me briefly introduce Neil Schaefer, who's going to go first. Neil from Maximize Your Social. It is literally true that Neil Schaefer wrote the book on social marketing. That book is called Maximize Your Social, a one-stop guide to building a social media strategy for marketing and business success. It's widely critically acclaimed in addition to two other books that he has also on LinkedIn, one called Maximizing LinkedIn for Sales and Social Media Marketing, and the other is called Windmill Networking, Maximizing LinkedIn. I've got all three. They're terrific. I highly recommend them. And in addition to having written those terrific books, Neil is also a Forbes Top 50 Social Media Power Influencer. He has been for the last 2 years, so this is a guy who is well recognized in the field. He also teaches Rutgers Social Media Mini MBA course. So if any of you are interested in continuing education around the area of social media, take a look at that program. He's a consultant to Fortune 500 companies all over the world. I can tell you he travels like a crazy person, and he's one of the most thoughtful people you're ever going to meet when it comes to LinkedIn and corporate marketing strategies. So with that, let me turn it over to Neil to get us going. Neil, it's all yours.
Thank you very much, Michael. It is a pleasure and an honor to be here today. Because of the limited time we have together, let's jump right into the content. So I'm going to be covering the topic of creating this comprehensive strategy for LinkedIn, including your employee. And really what I want to start talking about is a concept we're going to be mentioning a lot in this next hour, what is called employee advocacy. And the term is thrown around a lot, and I just wanted to start by defining this term, especially what it means vis-a-vis social media, because employee advocacy is a term that's been around before social media. And it's the thought that employees advocate on behalf of their employer. So just as companies are always looking outside their walls for brand advocates or fans of theirs that will support and promote their brand to their friends and network, this concept is really about your own employees. And when we talk about social media, and Michael hinted at the challenges that marketers and others have with platforms, really when we talk about employee advocacy in social media, it's important to note, and I put these terms in red, of a way of systematically leveraging your employee's voice, not your voice, which is always the challenge for traditional marketers, but really the voice of the employee in social media. So let's look at what that would look like. And just as a reminder, before we jump into the mechanics of how this would look like on LinkedIn, I wanted to give some further background on this concept and the business benefits for all of us if we do this right. I found this quote from the CEO of Honeywell, and this was said well before the advent of social media, but I think the concept really talks to what employee advocacy really is, that every employee is a brand ambassador. Whenever we represent Honeywell, we have the opportunity to either strengthen the brand or cause it to lose some of its luster and prestige. And we already have a lot of data that suggests that customer brand perception is determined by experiences with people. So you see the opportunity that we have of all of your employees becoming brand ambassadors in social media, and that people really control the brand perception of how they will view your company. Let's move on to the next slide. And this is probably my favorite quote about the potential for employee advocacy when we now jump into the age of social media. Your organization has thousands of websites, not just one. Employees are the long tail of your brand identity. And you can imagine with each employee that has a LinkedIn profile that in essence becomes one of these websites representing your organization. So this is the opportunity, and I wanted to, just before we jump into the mechanics, talk about a few other benefits of employee advocacy that you might not have realized. One is that people trust company employees more than a firm's PR department or CEO. And this is the famous Edelman Trust Barometer that shows that CEOs are just above government officials there as being trustworthy people, but really we trust those people that we know, average employees, average people. And that's another compelling thing about employee advocacy is that the employees of a company really are this untapped resource that is also extremely trusted by nature by their networks. And therefore, it's no surprise, and we're already seeing data, and I try to share data wherever I can. This is obviously a relatively new field. There's a great book about social business called The Most Powerful Brand on Earth that I highly recommend. It included this case study in particular from IBM that said traffic generated by IBM internal experts in social media converted 7 times more frequently than traffic generated by other IBM sources. So if our employees' networks are more trusted than our brand's network, it should be no surprise that assuming that the network is appropriate for our message, that this, we're going to find a lot of engagement from those employees that end up sharing their messages into their network. So this deeper trust and better engagement will result in not just more sales, more engagement, a lot of different, can help your company reach a lot of different objectives that it may have, both inside and outside marketing. And another interesting thing about employee advocacy that is often forgotten about is that there is often a minimal overlap between a brand network and the network of their employees. 2 great data points here. Cisco found that their employees had 10 times more followers than their corporate accounts, yet only a 2% overlap in audience. Obviously, corporate accounts are limited. If the larger your company is, obviously, the more employees and the bigger exponentially their network can become. Dell also found only an 8% overlap between their employees' Twitter followers and Dell corporate brand Twitter followers. So employee advocacy also has the potential to provide brands access to an entirely new audience that is the networks of your employees. Now, there are many different, I mentioned Twitter there with Dell, and obviously employees are on a variety of social networks. But LinkedIn, as this data here suggests, is unique in that it is for professionals. It is, today's hashtag is B2B social. It's obviously for B2B the most relevant network, and not just for B2C. I think consumer brands, and obviously we're going to hear from Marriott Rewards, also understand the compelling value of LinkedIn as a platform. But where not every employee is on Twitter, Google+, and they might be on Facebook, but on Facebook they really only want to share with their friends and family, and they're very tight as to what they might write there. LinkedIn really is the place where professionals go for making connections, for building brand identity, enhancing current client relationships, establishing thought leadership. LinkedIn, therefore, becomes really the perfect platform for employee advocacy because it's probably the one network that most of your employees are on that, because of these various reasons, they would hopefully see a win-win in contributing to your employee advocacy program. So let's go back to the topic of today's webinar. Now that we've looked at the, what employee advocacy is, the business benefits of employee advocacy, and why LinkedIn is the most appropriate channel, obviously everyone in this call, for every company you work at, you probably already have and are implementing some type of social media or social business strategy that includes LinkedIn. And we all know over the last 2 years, finally the world has opened up to the incredible opportunities, especially in sales and marketing, that LinkedIn has for your company. We've seen the emergence of LinkedIn company pages and now showcase pages to showcase multiple brands. We've seen LinkedIn ads and the emergence of native ads and sponsored updates. We've seen LinkedIn, we've seen LinkedIn groups and the power not only of engaging within groups, but also creating various LinkedIn groups to represent your industry, your former employees, and what have you. LinkedIn is a platform for social selling, and obviously LinkedIn is a platform for social recruiting. So most corporate LinkedIn strategies will include hopefully all of these points, but at least some of these points. But whatever LinkedIn strategy you have that includes these, it's missing probably one of the most compelling ways of utilizing LinkedIn for your company. And that is a comprehensive strategy that includes your employees. One of the most popular things that people do on LinkedIn is looking at the profiles of others, right? And whether you go to groups or you look at people engaging with company page updates or updates in a news feed, it is a people-centric network. Social media was made for people, not for businesses. So with that in mind, with the notion of employee advocacy and having your employees really promote your company on LinkedIn, there are a few different ways this can be done. And I think as marketers, we think of the notion of employee participation first. If our employees could share our content, what a wonderful world it would be, right? If they would engage with our content and what have you. But there are other ways of achieving various objectives with employee advocacy programs on LinkedIn. For instance, optimizing employee profiles to make sure that when searches are done for keywords that your employees are showing up, right? And making sure that the branding of their profiles is aligned with the branding of your company. But it's also optimizing employee networks, especially if you're in niche B2B industries. The more connected your employees are in those industries, it's obviously going to be a lot easier for them to do whatever they want to do, whether it's social selling or marketing or what have you. They're going to be a lot closer to being in contact with a lot more people. So these are just some areas to look at when thinking of employee advocacy for your employees on LinkedIn. And just as an example of the potential, now, even if you're a small business of only 5, 10 employees, there's enough potential because that's probably 5 to 10 times the number of profiles compared to one company page that your company has. But just as an example here that comes from PeopleLink's case study on Prudential Financial, who has 15,000 employees on LinkedIn, if we consider that the average employee has about 160 connections, that means that with every status update, if every employee was to send one, this could literally flood the newsfeed to 2.4 million LinkedIn connections that could potentially be reached by the message. So because of the number of connections we have, and you could say the same thing about friends of fans on Facebook or friends of friends, but your employees' network really is bigger than you think. And if you think of how connected we are all becoming on LinkedIn, it's not just open networkers now that have over 500 LinkedIn connections. You could see that this number, and the bigger your organization, obviously, the bigger this number becomes. The potential really is huge, even if only a fraction of your employees would participate. So before creating an employee advocacy strategy, let's now look into, the big question is your company ready? If your employees are not happy and engaged, they probably won't want to participate. And if they don't participate, there's obviously no value in the program. So what companies are doing is, doing internal surveys, or if you do regular internal surveys, you sort of have your finger on the pulse as to how your employees feel about your company. Would they buy your products or services? Would they recommend your products and services to family or friends? Would they recommend a job at your company to family and friends? I think the other things to look at are they active users of LinkedIn, or are a fraction of them active users of LinkedIn? And when we get down to the content, do you have shareable social media optimized content? When I say that, I'm talking about content that your employees it would be in their best interest to share on behalf of your company. So before creating your strategy, these are some questions you really need to ask yourselves. Let's keep moving on into the creation of the strategy here. The other part is strategy, and whether it's social media strategy in general. Strategy begins with determining objectives, and there are a lot of different objectives you might have for such a program. Keeping in mind compliance issues, that if you have an employee in a regulated industry on LinkedIn, you want to make sure that their profiles and what they say about the company and what they post in their status updates is actually in compliance with various industry and federal regulations. Is social recruiting going to be your objective? And just through the art of employer branding and having your employees share job openings, it can help you hopefully find better talent in less time at potentially less recruiting costs. Content marketing, brand awareness, reputation management. So there's obviously no one cookie-cutter approach to an employee advocacy strategy, because your objectives could be a combination of these potential objectives I have here. And with objectives come your metrics for measuring the success or need for further improvement of your program. If it's compliance issues, it's obviously risk reduction, social recruiting, lower recruiting costs, finding better people faster, right? Content marketing, more organic reach, more leads, more conversions. Brand awareness, more engagement, right? More followers, more mentions. Reputation management, sentiment analysis, or the notion of crisis management with your employees, helping your brand out. So this is how you begin defining your employee advocacy strategy, with the objective and the metrics that are appropriate for those objectives. And another important thing is, do you have full internal stakeholder support? I think everything in social media obviously becomes more successful when everybody is on board, including your executives. And employee advocacy, because it really speaks to all of your employees, it's obviously critical that you have full support. Are your executives signed on, not just in terms of budget, but is the strategy of your employee advocacy program aligned with your corporate goals? Will management provide a role model? And in social business, we look at Dell being one of these social business role models, and it's no surprise that Michael Dell has been a huge supporter and proponent of social from the beginning, even personally jumping into Google Plus Hangouts with strangers at the beginning of Google Plus. So this is really where you look to build your program, is first of all having that critical internal stakeholder support. We also have some infrastructure issues that need to be looked at. Social media policies, these are the legal policies that companies need to have in place, not only for the purpose of an employee advocacy program, but for the purpose of social media in general, and need to make sure that they're revised for the program. Social media guidelines. And with social media guidelines for your employees come training your employees on best practices, literally on how to use these platforms. Content, obviously, do you have content that is going to be shareable that others in your organization want to share on your behalf? And when I talked earlier about employee advocacy and social media, about having a way of systematically leveraging employees' help, you really need a technology platform in order to scale that. And the bigger the company, the bigger the need. So obviously, making sure that you choose the right technology platform is going to be critical to your success with your program. And the other important thing is, will you provide incentive for your employees to join the program? And this obviously comes down to your culture, your employees, what makes people tick. And there's a lot of different things that a lot of different companies have tried, from gamification, and not just comparing employees against each other, but by office or by region, by department, giving employees badges if they join the program or they're successful, internal swag, rankings, bonuses. And you could even tie those bonuses to people that end up getting hired from links that employees share, or bonuses with links that lead to leads and conversions. Maybe paid time off, exclusive access. There's no one way of doing this, obviously, but these are things that you should consider. Dell, and I couldn't find the right picture here of Dell's employee advocacy wall of fame, which they do have, that already has pictures of a number of people on it. So, you need to figure out what makes sense for your company, but definitely providing some sort of incentive can help your program grow into a successful one. And it's important to note that not everyone in your company is going to be interested in the program. So I talk about here, start small, aim large, and Michelle from Marriott Rewards is going to give you more information on what they've done. But there's an interesting Forrester report that looked at a wide number of corporate employees across North America and Europe that found in any given company you have, and this is a net promoter score, only about 1/4 of your employees are net promoters. Now, obviously, I hope that 100% of your employees are net promoters, but in general, this is what they found. So really, when we think of beginning a program, it's not about having everybody join. It's really, even having a small percentage of your employees joining can provide effective results. So identify those initial program members. Who's already advocating for us on social media? If you did a survey, who is a net promoter? Who uses LinkedIn as part of their daily job, which obviously a lot of people in sales and marketing and recruiters do. And also, who in your company are heavy social media users who would be honored by joining this type of program and helping out the company. And looking at the content piece of this, what content would make your employees look good and improve their personal branding and make them look like thought leaders, right? And it's going to come down to not only content that you're creating, but curating content. Curating content from not only a variety of voices and perspectives, but curating content from your employees and really, getting their feedback on what they would like to share is obviously going to be critical into getting everybody to participate in the program, and for having a real authentic voice of the employees in your program as well. Obviously, incentivizing the sharing of brand posts is something you may want to consider. Not every post that's going to be shared is going to have the same value to your company. So by having people get more points for sharing things that are more critical to the brand, it could be a good thing to do to incentivize. But obviously, be ready for feedback and to optimize the program, and try to include your employees in your program, not only in the content curation process, but really use this as a way to, as a jumping, board into actually having your employees be part of your content creation process as well. And finally, measuring the program. And there are a lot of different metrics that you can use to measure it. It all depends on a number of factors, right? Your strategy, your objective, and what have you. Program participation, not just how many of your employees are participating, but of those that signed up, are they actually participating? We can look at the organic reach of content, the engagement of that content, internal influencers, who of our employees is really generating a lot of feedback for our company in social media, which content is shared more, which content does better on which platforms, and obviously the feedback of the participants' satisfaction with your program and feedback on how you can further improve that. And I hope that's given you enough information to, frame. Now that we're going to go into the case study of what Michelle is doing at Marriott Rewards, but I hope that gives you a good starting point. And I think that we'll have time, hopefully, at the end to answer any questions you might have. If you've done the tweeted with the B2B social, I'm going to be trying to play catch up with that very, very shortly. But Michael, you want to move on to Michelle and Marriott Rewards now?
Terrific. Thank you, Neil. I think you may win the award for packing the most change management into the shortest period of time. That was great, and there's a lot of information there, and it's interesting as you were going through. One of the things I was doing was mentally kind of going through your bullet points and thinking which of these apply to the Marriott Rewards case study that Michelle's going to talk about. And I mean, right down the list, it was like check, 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 check. So a lot of this we're going to hear again in just a minute from Michelle, but we're going to hear it through the voice of someone who's actually living it and doing it every day. So I think a great meetup between theory and practice. With respect to questions and the Twitter stream, keep those tweets coming. B2B Social is very active, which is great to see. So keep it going and duck in there if you haven't had a chance to look at it yet. And as far as questions go, we do have some coming in already through the WebEx chat channel. We will hold them until the end of the session, but we will definitely leave time for those. So those of you who have asked questions, be patient, and those of you who haven't, feel free to lob in yours as well. So thank you, Neil. And now let me introduce Michelle LaPierre from Marriott Rewards. Michelle is another social marketing rock star in the field. As I said before, she comes at all of this from a slightly more practical angle, given her work at Marriott Rewards. So Michelle heads up the acquisition and social media efforts for all of Marriott Rewards. And she must know what she's doing because Marriott Rewards was voted the best hospitality loyalty program, and it has over 45 million members worldwide. Michelle's team in particular is responsible for representing the voice of the customer across functional areas, building awareness and advocacy for authentic recognition of customer loyalty. And the reason why I emphasize the word authentic there is that that is, to me, one of the most compelling aspects of Michelle's story at Marriott Rewards, and also just of Michelle herself. So in addition to being extremely influential in the social marketing world and within Marriott, for example, as a member of Marriott's Social Media Center of Excellence, in addition to all those things, she is also just a wonderfully fresh and authentic voice for social marketing and for content marketing in the enterprise. She is wise, she is witty, and she's always authentic. Michelle, we'll turn it over to you.
I don't think I should say anything. Below that, lovely announcement. Thank you so much, and hi everybody. I hope you're doing all right. Okay, Vanna White, put up a slide there for me if you don't mind. Okay. Let's ground ourselves really quickly. I'll just remind you what Marriott Rewards is. It's not Marriott Hotels. It's not Marriott International, but it is our 6 years in a row award-winning loyalty program. We are the portfolio of the company. We are here to attract and retain members and guests, build loyalty, and to, frankly, drive paid room nights across our portfolio of brands. Underneath us, we have 14 different hotel brands, 3,700 plus hotels and over 70 countries. So it's a big group of cats to ask to run roughly in whichever direction they want to run into, but if they just do it all in one way, that would be great. Some selfless promotion. This is our 30th birthday, and I'd love you to check out our Year of Surprises that we're running for this whole year. So www.yearofsurprises.com, go check it out. It's also on BuzzFeed and some other things, and you can see how we're authentically engaging. This is what we do. We provide an effective marketing platform. Go back 1 second, sorry. I beg your pardon. Thank you, Vanna. Here's what social channels do, and I want to say this first because we start in one and then we move to the others. And what I do in LinkedIn is because of what we've done in other channels. So what we have done in other channels is totally humanized our voice. So no marketing speak, no brochure speak, the word enhance, the words brand education, those kinds of things are not allowed in my team. They're not allowed in social channels, and they shouldn't really be allowed in LinkedIn. You have to step away from your marketing speak and really figure out what your human voice is. You have to think about what that emotional level is, particularly in the hospitality and travel world, but whatever kind of interaction you have with a brand, it's because you feel something about that brand, and there's got to be some admission that there's an emotional attachment to something like your favorite toothpaste or whatever it is, but it's a little bit dysfunctional, but it's there nonetheless. So you have to have a willingness to take that emotional connection and demonstrate your responsibility to friendships. That doesn't mean engagement, which is a horribly overused word now. That doesn't mean, oh, we're sending you stuff and you respond on our page or something every now and then. No, no, no. It means that we talk back and forth, that we have real relationships and friendships and conversations about things that matter. That's going to come up in just a minute. We have been able to, through these ideals, move in a statistically significant manner, trust and preference, and we are able to impact sentiment in the neutral and positive territory and actually decrease negative sentiment as well. Okay, next slide, please. Thanks so much. Employee involvement is definitely essential, and to Neil's point earlier, we follow Mr. Marriott. Essentially, we call him Uncle Bill, but Mr. Marriott was one of the first CEOs ever to have a blog. So talk about big shoes to fill. Arnie Sorensen, our CEO, is an influencer on LinkedIn. Karin Timponi is also, I mean, our executives are out and about and set the stage for that. We were early adopters that way, but it didn't mean that we had a wholesale presence across the entire organization. I want to make sure that we're taking a look at this at a small level. I'm talking from Marriott Rewards. I am one business unit within this big company, and we're sort of the incubation lab for a lot of this stuff. So if you're a smaller company, or if you're thinking that this is too big of an elephant to bite, don't worry about that. You can take small steps and move forward with this. We took our inspiration from Mr. Marriott and from others, and we're bringing that employee involvement down at every level. LinkedIn is a great platform in my mind because it's less personally intrusive. It was very, very difficult to get employees engaged in Facebook or other social places because it felt too much, too close to what their personal self is. This is more of a professional scenario, so it's a little bit easier for them to do that. Whenever you are in a scenario where you are selling services, this B2B at a human level, or what I just saw the other day, H to H, human to human, this is really important in the services side of things because it evens up the playing field a bit. It takes that superior-subordinate relationship that sometimes can get a little bit dicey and bring you into a colleague scenario. And when our general managers get on LinkedIn, or when one of our members find me on LinkedIn, it's an entirely different conversation that if something happens when they find me and they want to complain or even compliment, we are talking as colleagues on LinkedIn, which fundamentally changes the relationship. The powerful influencers of employees and alumni and want to work here is really important. And that word of mouth marketing channel, it is not cluttered. It is not noisy. It's nice and crystal clear. And there's nobody else in there. There's no other brands in there except for the ones that our employees like also. They're powerful. And people look at me as an expert in travel. I'm the personal travel agent to all my friends and family. I'm sure I will be to you too after this. But I have powerful influence because people think I know what I'm talking about, and so do the employees. Here's the other important aspect. This involvement brings the voice of the customer directly to the desks of our employees. It gives them a connection to the business objective in a way that their regular day-to-day work might not do that. And that is really strong support in terms of someone building empathy or thinking about their work in a different way or thinking about outcomes or solutions in a manner that puts the customer in the middle of the story and not the MBO or what have you, right? Because they now hear and feel that customer in a very personal manner. Now, I will tell you that this does add complications in a customer care or guest service scenario because we have to move away from template speak. We have to move away from that risk mitigation world that we all live in and from fraud and things like that. So it requires you to think a little bit more creatively in terms of solutions because employees don't want to spend their whole day, particularly I can tell you from my experience, trying to track down the solution that someone might need to have relative to an issue that they're having. So you have to think creatively about how you come to these channels, particularly LinkedIn, when you don't have moderation and that sort of thing. Okay, this is how we rolled it out. Marriott Rewards as a brand presence is not going to come onto LinkedIn until later this year. But we wanted to pilot some of the activities that we had in mind. And we wanted to certainly make sure that our employees were well positioned. Number one, we learned from my pals at People Links. I'll give you guys a nod. I had them do a quick scan, and 47% of the people on LinkedIn who mention Marriott in some manner in their profile, 47% had the word Marriott spelled wrong. Now, before Marriott Rewards goes out, I need to make sure that everybody at least connected to my brand has their hair combed and their teeth brushed, and that they're as professional and sharp as they can be. And writing profiles on LinkedIn and it's like writing your resume. You got to make sure that you're grammatically correct and you got your best foot forward because everybody wants to make sure that they're presenting the best self that they can. So that's where we started with our associates. I started it as an elective for just my department, and there are less than 60 of us, believe it or not, around the world, and I did it as a scarcity play. So I said, act now. I only had X number of seats that were in this pilot, and so you had to get there right away. I sort of built up that anticipation. And it really worked really well. We had those seats filled really fast, but I had them filled by people who I knew would be really interested. So we got them all spiffed up and we got all their profiles fixed up, and then we started saying, well, okay, now we need some content. And so we started developing contests, much like what Neil talked about, and you can give them all kinds of tchotchkes all you want and swag. It is Visa gift cards, frankly, that cause a great deal of competition. It's money. And so content is sourced by employees for employees. Now, this is not the only way I'm going to do it because LinkedIn is a giant sucking sound in terms of content, particularly for a company. I don't create content. I create happiness when you're away from home. So, but what we're doing is demonstrating to my employees the type of content that is appropriate because we have a little bit of a vetting process. We broaden our reach in terms of how interesting can we be in all these different perspectives of what people look at and what they're interested in and what's appropriate for LinkedIn, and it's beyond what our corporate, oh, here's a press release, et cetera. And it's helping our employees to expand their personal networks because they're posting interesting content and they're all telling me that, oh, everybody's contacting them now to be a connection, and their point of pride with that is really powerful. And the other thing that we do is linked up with our other functional areas. And so my HR brand that runs like lots of recruiting things, they let us know when they have jobs open. Mr. Sorensen, our CEO, when he does a post, we make sure everybody pushes that out. Our global sales teams, we share content with them. So this perspective sort of rises all boats, and we're in it together. But we didn't have to wait for the entire enterprise to come along or have a big, gigantic social strategy. Believe me, we do. But it started small, and that's what I want to make sure that you guys understand, that it doesn't. The whole world does not have to, start with you. We started out small, and now we're just sort of taking over the world. It's a beautiful thing. Next slide, please. And this is great. Yes, we actually do have metrics, which is a beautiful thing. This metric is telling me who in my pilot is actually using this, and it helps to know who actually has the social chops. A, because so many jobs now have social media participation as part of that position description. B, as Neil was talking about earlier, 1/4 of our employees are net promoters. I now know who they are, and I can go after them. And there's part of lookalike marketing that's going on here. If I want to get some particular story out, I can go here and say, oh, this person might be really good to engage with because I see that they're really engaged with what's happening here. So this is a really good slide for me to sort of know what my employee base is like, who's got it. Even though somebody, in the olden days, they would be like, well, I'm a real people person, and now we hear, I really like social media, but now I can really tell who doesn't, who can and who does and who doesn't, that sort of thing.
And Michelle, just to add to that, so I realize the label is missing on this slide. Those numbers on the chart actually reflect the number of click-throughs that were generated by each of these employees sharing content on LinkedIn, correct?
Yes, and awesome, because I have one that you can see that shares well over 400 clicks and likes and shares and all of that, all the way down to somebody who hardly is doing anything. So it's quite revealing. It's not, it's not like it's going to right now be part of what their annual review is about, but as social media creeps into every single part of our world, at least in the marketing side of things, and certainly in sales or business development, et cetera, I think this is a really valuable tool. Now, this one is, these are my words. This is barbecue worthiness, and this goes back to being friends. You can't just post stuff about yourself, right? So if you take a look at some brands that really only know how to talk about themselves or know how to talk about an offer or deal, all you're doing is training your consumers to think about you as a commodity or as a sale. We are in the business to make long-term friends. And because friends come with benefits, one of those benefits are they're not going to pick on you when something goes wrong, right? They're not going to point at your zits. They're the ones who are going to embrace you in times of good and bad. In order to do that, you have to have meaningful conversations. You want to get invited to the barbecue. And when you go to the barbecue, you want to be able to talk about stuff that is more than just single-dimensional. Your best friends are the people who are entertaining, thought-provoking, that you have these great conversations with. They don't always have to be funny or quippy or 140 characters, but that has some depth to them. So we're trying different topics in LinkedIn to see which ones are actually barbecue worthy. And what you see here is I am a travel and hospitality company, but the topics that are most important don't have anything to do with that. That's really important. And so as I develop my content strategy, I take a look at this and say, okay, now I know where to go. And then finally, drum roll, just for you people who love the numbers, here's our employees by the numbers. It's a work in progress. We're still in our pilot stage, and we're still building competency here. The competition is friendly. It is water cooler worthy. People are actually really responding to what we're doing on LinkedIn and with People Links, and they are deeply appreciative of the fact that this is giving them a personal benefit as well. And we don't even have time to go into that, but it has truly made them feel not exploited, but that they're part of what we're all doing and that they're also feeling a personal benefit from it too.
Fantastic. Thank you, Michelle. We've got questions coming in the WebEx, so I'm going to go through my part pretty quickly, and then we'll loop back and take those questions. So this is Michael Idenopoulos, Chief Marketing Officer here at People Links. I'm just going to talk very briefly about the solution behind a lot of the concepts that Neil and Michelle have been talking about, which is People Links, the People Links service, the People Links product. In a word, we are a technology provider that turns employees into social marketers. That's kind of what we do. And the upshot of this is that we are able to help organizations realize all the benefits that Neil was talking about and that Michelle gave such a wonderful case example of. So just to talk very briefly about, again, a lot of the concepts we've been talking about today, the idea that employees are websites. They are, as Neil put it, quoting our CEO and founder Nathan Egan, they are the long tail of the brand identity. And what People Links does is helps companies make full use of that long tail by turning the employees into social marketers, mobilizing their participation, maximizing their effectiveness on LinkedIn and other social networks, and measuring the impact that they're able to have. This is kind of the obligatory logo slide. We've got a bunch more logos. We serve primarily large Fortune 500 companies, AmLaw 100 law firms, but we have many smaller clients as well. We were founded in 2009 originally as a training company by early LinkedIn employees who spent literally thousands of hours delivering training on LinkedIn to leading companies in lots of industries, including finance, legal, management consulting, media, and others. And the more they got into it, the more they realized that training has real limitations. And so they went out with the mission of taking all the wonderful training and knowledge and expertise that they were bringing to their clients and turning it into technology. And that's what People Links is today. It's a cloud-hosted solution that brings the benefits of employee marketing in a way that's scalable, that's simple to deploy, and that's measurable. As Michelle pointed out, metrics are a good thing, and People Links gives companies lots of metrics on what their employees are doing and the impact that it's driving. So the way it works, in a nutshell, People Links scores each employee by looking at that employee's activity on LinkedIn and then comparing it to a set of guidelines that have been defined by the company for how the company would like to see employees engaging their networks on LinkedIn. The system also recommends improvements automatically. So a personalized set of recommendations is provided in real time to each and every employee so that they can go in and literally at the click of a button do all the things that they need to do in order to be more effective. And that can be basic things like uploading a picture. It can be branded things. I mean, as Michelle pointed out, when you've got 40% of people who don't even spell the name of the company correctly, that's something you want to be able to track and correct at scale. And then it includes things like optimizing your network to have relevant connections, and even sharing new content that the company has identified for you to share with your networks so that you're engaging in those barbecue-worthy conversations. So that's kind of the core functionality. As I said, content marketing to employee networks is a powerful piece of it, including the content marketing analytics of the type that Michelle was showing. So it's really designed to be in one simple, scalable solution for the enterprise, everything that a marketer needs in order to turn the employees into social marketers and realize all the benefits that we're talking about. And of course, it comes with very, very robust metrics, whether it's being able to tell who is sharing, what kind of click-throughs they're driving, whose profiles are compliant with brand standards, who has pictures on their profile and who doesn't, who is connecting with your target accounts and who isn't. All of those things become transparent to the marketer by use of the PeopleLinks platform. And it all ties back to your marketing goals. So it's not just about kind of understanding the shares and the likes, but understanding really how is this driving the metrics that we as brand marketers and as lead generation managers care about. So that's PeopleLinks in a nutshell. Obviously, you can learn more about us by going to our website. You should all have our contact information as well if you'd like to get a demo. And now I'd like to go to the really fun part of this, which is the Q&A. So we've got a number of questions. I'm going to take them in no particular order, and we'll probably try to keep the answers fairly brief, although we do have a few minutes here. First question, this one came from Twitter, or no, this one came from the WebEx. Michelle, what's the source of the employee analytics that you were giving?
My pals at PeopleLinks.
Woohoo! That's a good answer.
I use their platform, and I'll tell you that very reasonably priced, easy to use, great customer support. Michael, I know that you're on the line, but I am very short-staffed, and they have made it so turnkey for me. I'm deeply appreciative and a big fan.
Awesome. Thank you. And we're not paying Michelle to say that, for the record.
And you don't do much other than be nice to me, but it's everybody.
I told you she was authentic, and there it is. So next question, and this could really be for Michelle or for Neil. How often do you get pushback from employees who are basically saying to their companies, no, this is my profile, these are my networks, I don't want you to come anywhere near them?
From a practitioner perspective, I don't make anybody do anything because they're not going to be any good to me, and frankly, and there's plenty of people who are and who are hungry for it. So it's not until the world turns to where all of this becomes a requirement, I got plenty of other obstacles I got to jump over, and I'm just not going to bother with that one.
Neil, anything to add as far as your experience? Do you find that Michelle's kind of approach is typical, unusual? What are you seeing in your clients?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on the company, and I think those that are doing it wrong are getting that sort of pushback, because if it was done authentically and collaboratively with only those employees that might be interested in it as an optional program, you really shouldn't have that pushback in the first place. So, and I know companies that have created Twitter accounts for their employees and are tweeting on their behalf, and the range of companies out there that are doing all sorts of weird things goes as broad as you like. But I think if you're doing it right, you really shouldn't have those issues, right?
Cool, fantastic. Michelle, you had mentioned that you guys sort of started as a division without waiting for the entire broader Marriott umbrella to kind of get its act together with respect to social and employee advocacy. How are you interacting with your colleagues in HR and in recruiting? Are they Are they part of the team? Are they consulted? Are they completely unaware? How are you interacting with them?
Oh, you never do anything without HR being unaware. That would be a naughty thing to do. Although sometimes easier, I have to admit. No, we keep each other abreast of what we're doing, and we all believe that at some point we will converge. But in a company our size, we made a decision to embed social media expertise in each of the various functional areas instead of making it one big thing, because it would just become a turf battle at that point, and who wants that? So each of us have expertise within our own functional areas, and we're a friendly lot, so we talk to each other all the time, share what we know. Some of us are funded differently than others, so one can move ahead a little bit more than the other, and we try to drag each other along when we can. So in terms of the HR folks and their recruiting, I let them know, hey, if you've got something coming up and you want us to put it in our content library, let us know, and we'll happily push it out as much as we can. And so it's just that kind of collaboration, but there's no fighting, and we're not going to tell you. There's none of that stuff. Why bother? But always tell your human resources professionals everything, and don't be naughty.
I'm going to steer the next question to Neil, and this was a question, I believe, on Twitter. Would you recommend going forward with the program even if a minority of employees wanted to?
Absolutely. And I think I tweeted back, think of it as the field of dreams. If you build it, they will come. And I think that the notion, if you set up a program like Michelle has done, or as I had suggested, which becomes just a natural, organic extension of your employees' personal branding in social media, I think that hopefully they would see it as a natural thing that they would want to do, and therefore the more professionals understand the potential of social media for personal branding and of posting status updates that have meaning to their network, the importance of the program can only grow. So even if, and I know that there are some B2B companies out there that I've worked with where very, very few of their employees are very active in social, and that's okay. Start with a few. Build success stories, because even if you only have 2 employees joining in and you only have 1 LinkedIn company page, you're already potentially extending your reach by 2 times, right? So, I think it's not about the volume and not about the quantity, but the quality. And even if you can just make a few people real passionate advocates for your company and social, it can go a long way.
Cool, and I think we have time for one more question, which I'm going to steer to Michelle. Michelle, you showed the chart which showed a big kind of spread between the people who were very active on social as part of your program and the people who weren't. Were the employees who were active the ones that you expected, or did you find that there were some surprises there?
I try not to be. Yeah, I was surprised. There's a lot of people who talk a big game, but when it comes down to it, they're not that active. And there are people who had admitted that they had not even ever built a profile, but were so committed to it, came up to the 100%. So, yeah, I have to say I was surprised and delighted, but I don't judge, because it's not for everybody. And it does take some time, and people will adopt and adapt as fits their lifestyle. So I'm not about to, force anybody into anything, but those who naturally want to come along on this exciting adventure, I'm going to invite them to jump along. And it's fun having them sort of organically grow like this. It's really been really rewarding and fun, and I wouldn't give up this experience for the world.
What a beautiful way to close. Thank you, Neil. Thank you, Michelle. This has been a terrific conversation. I have to say this is one of the best webinars I've been involved with, and I'm not just saying that. And I want to thank everyone else for joining. A number of you asked questions about PeopleLinks and PeopleLinks pricing. The short answer to many of them is we do not have a minimum seat count. Please contact us and we'd be happy to discuss the details with you. Contact information is on the screen. And as you can probably tell from this webinar, we're incredibly passionate about this topic. We think that employee advocacy and employee social marketing is the next big thing in digital marketing, and we're really excited to be making that part of the future. So thank you again, everyone, for joining, and especially to our presenters. And we look forward to talking with you again soon. Take care, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.